Welcome to today's Crypto and Stocks TA live stream. Today is September 22nd, 2021. It's about 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York time here in the USA. And we're going to be going over some crypto charts and some stock charts today. And I'm going to be focusing more on longer term for my streams from now on. So if somebody has a request, please go ahead and type it into the live chat box and let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm looking at is the total chart, the crypto market cap total on the 1 day, the daily. And what we'll notice is, yes, we did set our lower low and the bounce is underway. We must note that the current candle will not close for about 3 to 4 hours at the time of this video. So just because you're seeing green here, you know what I mean? You can't really call that as the final. Although this is good. This is a good bullish engulfing candle here. So what's the play-by-play? Okay, we had the flash crash. We rallied. We set a lower high on the total and pulled back down. Something to note as well this time, which is different than the last time, is we have an immediate bullish engulfing candle only after 2 days. That should have happened up here. So we're finally seeing some bulls coming back into this market because of the slightly oversold levels in the price. So let's get our longer term resistance and support levels for total chart. The resistance above is 2.04 trillion. We're going to put that in yellow. The immediate support that we just bounced off of is 1.8 trillion down here. And let's put some additional ones just in case. So another resistance at 2.11 trillion, another support down here at 1.74. And why are we talking about this today? Well, because we had the Federal Reserve USA FOMC meeting for about an hour. And that is all about stocks and the economy. And they touched a little bit about crypto as well at the end. So we saw a little bit of a volatile reaction during the Fed meeting, that 1 hour. You can see it on the charts. So let's switch to Bitcoin so I can explain that a little more. We do have this trend line here that still exists. This one exists. This one also exists. We could draw this one for now because you could visually see the break and you could see the price was riding this trend line, the total price. And then we had the bear break down into a support level. So most likely scenario, probably, if there's no bearish news that comes out in the next couple days, is pull back down. Excuse me, the replay is pull back down, lower high, lower low. If this lower low holds, we might see just a little bit additional retest of this resistance up here, this resistance line, the blue. One thing to note, though, it is just the second day. And if we look back, how many times has that happened where it's just the second day? This happened. I mean, if something really bullish happens, it could just reverse. So this is what I'm really looking at, May as the template. In history, we had a big crash, bounce, one more crash, bounce, right? And then it did rally for about 3 days. It pulled back, not all the way down, but pulled back to set the higher low, but ended up tapering or consolidating, I should say. So that could happen here. That could happen. Let's just talk about scenarios before we move on, right? This could happen. You could bounce up and try to pull back down. That's one bearish scenario, bearish continuation. One thing to note is we do have this short-term trend line here in the blue. So price could just try to test that about 2.08 trillion to the top side, upside, which would be about maybe somewhere about 5% upside if it's going to be a big follow-through resistance test. Right, let's highlight this resistance and this support down here. But if we end up getting rejected for whatever reason from the immediate resistance level that we're at right now, just right above this, the 2 trillion level, is that we could set the lower low or we could set a higher low if we're going to stay bullish. One thing I will note though on that's different from the total chart than the Bitcoin is the total chart 200 EMA is down here at 1.675 trillion. So it's mainly Bitcoin dip buyers that bought the market back. The market did not actually test the 200 EMA yet. So that could be one bearish target down here at 1.675 if it ever gets down there. But if we're really, really honest with ourselves right now, if we're really honest with ourselves, it is a confirmed daily downtrend. Just turn everything off, even the volume for a second. It's confirmed daily downtrend. This side, left side was up trend. This side's the downtrend. So the question remains is it going to stay a downtrend in the next 1 month or 2 months? Or is it going to go up, come down, set the higher low price, and then turn into an uptrend continuation? Okay, so now we're going to move to Bitcoin to kind of really start thinking about that. All right. And again, one thing I should note is that in my last stream that I just did, I called out the bottom of this support even before it happened. How did I know that was even possible? Because from experience, first from knowledge and experience, trading and investing Bitcoin for years, is that when you have this type of situation, it looks like it's going to pull down. There's really obvious targets on the downside. All right, I called out $40,000 as support. I called out even 39. Why? Because if you look at the Bitcoin futures chart, right, this was in that 38, 39,000. So, right, just take the half average of that, and that's exactly where Bitcoin stopped. Okay, so there are bigger players in the market than just retail traders. There's Wall Street, there's Chicago Mercantile Exchange. They do Bitcoin futures. So Wall Street does Bitcoin futures as well. So this is not just like everyday people. Some of it is, right? But a lot of it is the larger hedge funds and institutions at play. And once we see that the US stock market closed, some of that volatility stopped. So again, how do we know that was bottom? Because the double support down there, basically. And it's not over yet. It's just one flip into the bullish engulfing candle. So again, we might so Bitcoin might bounce up to like 44,500. That's the first resistance. Second resistance 47. I know it's kind of messy, but we're just looking at the targets right now. And then the support down here 40,000, 38,000. If we put up a Fibonacci really quick, right? So 40,000, 38,000, 34,000 are downside targets. Topside targets 45, 47, 50. So the only good piece of kind of bullish views on the on Bitcoin is we are golden crossed up into this EMA up cross. So we have that going for us. Okay. I would be more concerned if this, let me use a different chart. I would be concerned basically if we eventually 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, if we close below this 200 EMA and it rejects down just like this, I would say we have a short-term, mid-term problem with Bitcoin. If this holds strong, 40,000, and we bounce up and we actually have a trend change from here, trend change up, that's very good for Bitcoin in the short, medium term. Okay, so those are the two scenarios to watch out for. Just taking a peek at the intraday. I'm not going to go too intraday because I realize that that could trigger some FOMO and FUD in some people. So I'm not going to go too intraday. I'm just going to keep it longer term, so people are not panicking at all. So Yes, we did set that lower low and the lower highs testing the upper resistance zone. So here's what I'm talking about is if you look at this one candle, I'm on the hourly chart right now. If you look at this one candle right here, this is the FOMC meeting, this 1 hour right here, 11 to 12. There's volatility. So what did they talk about today? FOMC, Federal Reserve of USA, they talked about tapering. They talked about inflation. They talked about ethics within their institution. And they talked about the general schedule outlook. They talked about China Evergrande, and how that's going to affect the global economies. And then they talked about a little bit about the U.S. digital currency. It's called CBDC, central bank digital currency. And so that's why, this thing was flipping around in this 1 hour because there's some bullish news, there's some bearish news in there, and it's very mixed. And then right when that ended, it got quiet. So it's just an example that news does move markets for sure, and that the stock market is related to the crypto market and vice versa. They're not totally separated. So that's kind of that quick resistance and support and trend for total and Bitcoin. Okay, so we just don't want to get super bullish to the point where you never want to get too hyped or too scared in the market, because I always want to just have 2 or 3 scenarios in your mind, because anything's possible. Somebody might have thought this was a continuation rally back here in April, but once we have that loss of support and really bad news, then we crashed. So somebody might have thought this is a super good, very good bullish event, which it kind of was. It was a nice rally, nice leg up in the market. But then we had, some negative events and news that and kind of crashed it, pulled it back down. So we just have to set the facts. We are in a medium-term daily downtrend. We are not on the left side going up anymore. It's the downside of the daily trend. So now it's just about bounces and how far does it go up? We're going to reject from support. We just watch for these types of scenarios. Okay, I know I'm repeating it many times, but I'm trying to reinforce it so people understand and there's less FOMO and FUD in the market. Okay, does anybody have any requests at all? I see some people. Thank you for joining the live stream. All right, if we don't have requests, I'm just going to do some of the basic ones. So I'll move on to Ethereum. USDT. All right, and so before I erase everything, we have to note that there is a pattern here. There's setup, right? There's resistance, pullback, set the lower high. We drew this in blue that this is the resistance zone because we started pulling back. And I said, watch for these 2 levels, which we lost those 2 levels. And our longer term targets were 2870 and 2465. And we basically went to the middle of that support. So we were able to get some general targets 1 week before this even happened using technical analysis. Okay, so let me erase this. And where are we right now is what everyone's wondering. This resistance is still there. It exists. It's a double top resistance zone, I'm going to call it, on the top. The trend line to the bottom side still exists. Still there. Now, in terms of how deep did the price pierce down? Well, it pierced down to that 50% retrace zone, right? So that's why Fibonacci tool is powerful. It's very useful, right? Because if you don't have it, you're just looking at blank space, or you can guess. I mean, you can use classic support and resistance, where if I'm looking left, I see this price cluster right here, and so I could just draw that on my chart. Boom, right here. There's a price zone here, here, and here. So if I drew that last time without using any targets, it actually hit that target. So this, when you get one candle up like that, that means the intraday traders bought it up and it turned into a short-term uptrend. So you see here that we were downtrending on the 15-minute, okay? And then there's a trend line break, reversal, okay, right? So this is like textbook trend now on a 15-minute. Downtrend going into a potential uptrend or just a bounce up, right? So we just have to always remember things can get faked out. this was a short-term uptrend, this was a short-term uptrend, this might be a medium-term uptrend, right? But if we lose the, if we get rejected and lose support on the way down, then it starts downtrending, right? These are just shorts and algorithms and bots just covering their positions, right? These and longs trying to scalp. But the bigger picture is we just came from the downtrend, but now we're here. So also somebody could also say on a lot of these Bitcoin and altcoins, is this a potential upside down head and shoulders pattern, which is bullish? If it is, you can actually draw, you can measure the target. I'm not going to do this for every single one because they look very similar. They all have different targets though. So 10% target to the upside if it happens to break bullish for the next week or two. If we break down for whatever reason, the inverse is true. 2610 would be the downside target. So the topside target is 3356, the downside target is 2617, and I'm talking about like 7 days from now. So we're calling this out 7 days from now. And the middle, and it's so one thing to note is there's this hidden trend line here. There's actually two. There's multiple. There's a lot. Let me change the colors because it's getting all, it's hard to see. Let me change the support resistance to gray. There you go. And then we have our trend lines in yellow. So here's one, and here's the second one here. We're just at that resistance level. Also, a large right shoulder has not really been formed in terms of textbook. We're at the neckline right now, but the textbook upside down head and shoulders would have to look like that. So one pullback, if it's going to be perfect textbook, that's a pullback and then break out, retest, and then hit that target like that. But it's crypto, so maybe this is that baby right shoulder, and it might break out as such. But right here is the resistance. There's double resistance. I hope people realize horizontal and trend line, right? So this X marks the spot, the 3,000, and it's a whole number, right? Just above 3,000 is going to be the big test for Bitcoin and altcoins, right? So I'm switch back to Bitcoin really fast. The same kind of logic applies. So medium term, if this is upside down head and shoulder, plus or minus 5% on Bitcoin in the next week from the neckline, or even if we lose the head, right? So those are three targets: 44.7, 40, 38K in terms of this one short-term pattern right here. So moving back to Ethereum, basically now we're just playing those levels. So you could see on the daily chart, the potential bounce might be setting up. What could flip everything down is if there's bearish news and continued sell-off. But the fundamental relationship to this is that the China Evergrande real estate company seems to have survived for this day, for the past couple of days. There's even headlines that you're seeing that the Chinese government might even restructure Evergrande company. So even the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said, you know, he basically implied today in his meeting that Evergrande should not be really compared to corporate stocks or the corporate USA corporate landscape, kind of hinting that it might just be a localized China economic problem. So some of those fears subsided over the past 2 days, and that's why we're getting bounces on Bitcoin and stocks as well. I see a request. Um, so that's basically the general analysis for Ethereum. Let's jump to Sol. So Sol's interesting, and we drew this. We drew this 2 days ago. So first thing to note is we have this resistance zone at the upper 200s. It's in the yellow box up here. There's bearish candles up here at the top. Then the pullback. The pullback down, we had one. So it is, Sol is also in a daily downtrend. I hope people realize this left side is uptrend, textbook uptrend. This right side is downtrend with the bounce. So we are bouncing. So I know people are getting excited because they're going to see this green, right? But if you're really, really honest with it, it's if you're a longer term, medium term trader, it's a downtrend. So you have to state that fact first before we start getting some like excited about the TA for the setup. So how did we know what levels? Okay, if you use Fibonacci, we lost to 236. We tested and held above 382 support, and also we drew that support line there days ago. We did also lose this short-term trend line support. Okay, and that's an intraday line, the yellow one. So you might be wondering now, it's like, where can we go? So we kind of have to peek into the intraday. And this is where I was saying these two blue lines still matter. Is you could see the downtrend now on the hourly price, downtrending, and we just started this continuation probably from day traders on the 5-minute chart. Right, this is downtrend, boom. There's attempted trend reversal here. This should have went here, but we lost it because Bitcoin's selling off. See that we lost that support, fell down. Where to 120 range. Then finally, Bitcoin revived and started moving up. So first off, we need to just state also that fact that Solana now is more correlated with Bitcoin. 2 weeks ago, it was not. Or a week ago, it was less so. But now it's starting to correlate a little bit stronger with Bitcoin in the moves. I'm looking at two charts right now. This leg up on the Sol chart looks exactly like the Bitcoin chart, almost the exact same thing, just a little bit higher right here. And again, that volatility shook all altcoins. So you have to realize that algos and bots are controlling a lot of the trading that's going on right now. Right? So these two targets still last. It's in a short-term uptrend if you're trying to day trade or something like that. So the target would be the 236, which it just hit that on the during the FOMC meeting, which is 151. The larger term target I have up here is 155 if it continues. But if this is going to be textbook uptrend, this should actually pull back down to 140 range, 137 range before making an attempt to rally up to 150, right? Because once things get super overextended like that on price, you know it's going to crash down. That's like the history of crypto. If something goes parabolic really, really fast in like 1 hour, 2 hours, it's not going to sustain itself. Okay, I'm talking about huge moves. Right? This is normal for crypto, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a pullback and then a retest. If something bad happens, so the bullish case, right? This would keep trying to go uptrend today, next 2 days. But if something happens with Bitcoin bad, we would actually probably top out here at the 236 level and then maybe fade down again. So those are the two bull and bear scenarios. Okay, we'll go to the next request, ALGO. ALGO. All right, so ALGO, again, had this nice huge rally off the September 7th flash crash, and then found a resistance zone up here in the 230 to 240 range of US dollar price. So we have to acknowledge again, we are in a daily downtrend. Okay, this is uptrend on this left side. This is daily downtrend on the right side. We have to be honest with ourselves. No matter how much somebody's hyped on crypto, thinking every altcoin is going to moon or crash if they're a bear, we got to state the facts because the price that we see on the chart, for the most part, is the truth. Regardless of what the news and the internet opinions are out there, this is really happening right now, the daily downtrend. So let's get our support and resistance levels. So we know our resistance is about 192 to $2. Our support is 156. I'm just going to call 150 down here because we did have this pivot point reversal. If someone's really sensitive to daily candles, if this closes green, okay, this might be a Morningstar triple candle pattern, which is bullish. Okay. If that happens, then we could see a uptrend reversal as such, right? I could see this happen, test resistance, pull back. Next session, day traders try to, keep rallying this up and up, right? The reason I'm not going super intraday is because people can FOMO on the stream, on the chart. So I'm trying not to do that as much. Just give the bigger targets. And this is nice. Finding support right here at $1.55 on the 4 hours. And again, this right side just copying Bitcoin right now. So a lot of coins that I'm seeing, altcoins, are very, very correlated with Bitcoin price right now. So Bitcoin is definitely the king right now in terms of crypto. Price movement, I mean. All right, so if this pattern really plays out though, if this completes, it always doesn't, but 15% from the breakout would bring us back up to 208. Okay, it may or may not do that. It really depends on Bitcoin, but there is something here though, because you hit this price, tested the support, bounced off it, you broke through the resistance right now, which is now our immediate support at 179. So then that, if it happens to go bullish for a couple more days, then $2.08 would be the target for the upside. If this stays, if Bitcoin goes up and this thing keeps having momentum, that's probably where we're ending up for the short term, 208. But if not, if it fails, then I can see this retesting even down to 157. So those are those three levels you probably want to be watching out for. And I'm trying not to go super intraday because you can see it here. Well, I already kind of answered that question. Is to answer that question for yourself, you have to look at the total chart on the Bitcoin chart. Is right. We're in a daily downtrend. What's happening is we're bouncing right now. What's going to happen? The question remains: is will the bullish continue? Because we already bounced, so this candle's already bullish. If you're looking at one candle, if you're like looking at long term, we're in a daily downtrend. That's something very important to know. This is uptrend on this left side. This is downtrend. Okay, so the only thing that's keeping me slightly bullish again is that the EMAs are up like that. If the EMAs were down, that's confirmed, 100% confirmed downtrend. But right now it's mixed right now, meaning that 6 months from now, a year from now, will this simply be long term a higher low and will continue, for 3 months? Or is this the start of a larger pullback? Okay. We're talking about like 6 months to a year outlook. All right. But if you're only talking about like 2 weeks or 4 weeks or the next month, right? Or even the next couple days, is okay. So we're bouncing. The question is, where are we going to bounce to? We already talked about this 2.06 trillion on the total chart. There's resistance right here. So I'll be cautious about that, right? People who bought the bottom of this move, they're up in the money. They're in the money right now. They're green. So this is where an example of, depending on your time frame, you got to watch out for some potential FOMO plays, right? Because technically, somebody right now, you're like right near the resistance zone. The support zone is all the way down here, right? So you want to watch out for that. ADA, USDT, ADA. All right, so let me use a different chart because actually we'll start on this one, and if it gets too messy, we'll switch. But ADA is the same example. We had this big resistance, and I've turned the volume back on. The climax, you know, right here at $3 up here. So this is the $3 zone. I'm going to call it the resistance zone up here. We have our Fibonacci set up, and so the 236 was fluctuating, but you have to realize too is Cardano's in the daily downtrend. Cardano's not in a daily uptrend anymore. The inflection point, the pivot point was right here, September 3rd. This whole price cluster, then we had the flash crash that started the downtrend. So you have to really, really, really be honest with ourselves, regardless of the uh, news hype, internet hype. Is the chart is telling me, it's showing, it's 100% proven this is in a daily downtrend. We just bounced though, which is why people are excited because they say green and we're like, it's like nice, right? But somebody bought the bottom of this move. So then maybe I'll switch the chart for new targets. Just use something. Okay. So our immediate support was 213 USDT. Our resistance above is 236, 256, 271. Our next support down would be 185 or $2 again. Right? So we hit that $2 range. I called that on a stream like 2 or 3 days ago, saying $2, so $1.75, 250. I remember saying that the whole time this thing is going down. So that's how you could use technical analysis to your advantage. and we get trend lines. Okay, now we have a resistance trend line. So you see here, it's right at the resistance, and we have this pattern setting up. Sometimes this could be a bullish continuation pattern, and we're on the daily chart. I shouldn't say bullish. It just could be a breakout pattern, okay? Meaning that you have this, and so if this rally continues, it will break out. Probably go up to 235. If this is going to be textbook, right? 235, 240, and then pull back to retest the 220 range. And if it's a real trend change, it should rally up as such to these upper resistances on the right side. But sometimes, it doesn't always work. And you could even see, actually, the Solana was the old chart, but this happened in Solana, right? It broke out, but then it failed on a shorter term time frame. So on a bear scenario, this could reject right here at this resistance zone 231 and pull back in bear scenario. So I would watch this zone carefully. The mid, the 225, 220 zone of Cardano is key. And then how do we know if we're going to start downtrending? We just lose a whole bunch of support on the way down. 210, $2. If we lose $2 and we close below $2, that would be pretty kind of a momentum, less momentum on Cardano if that happens, like psychologically, I think for people, right? We also have this trend line up here. So you can kind of see there's an X marks the spot somewhere in the zone in the 237 right there. I'm going to X that. And we're just looking at a daily chart right now. The candle's going to close in 3 hours from now. So we did have a nice bounce. Things were oversold. Things kind of crashed down. And we can see there's attempted trend change here, but then Bitcoin crashed down one more leg down. This was finally our temporary bottom, 191, because it was downtrending. And then the temporary uptrend, right? So you can see kind of that textbook. The market's trying to do something here with Cardano and Bitcoin as well. But even Bitcoin, I'm saying if it's going to pull back, because I'm looking at the chart right now on a different screen, it's possible that Bitcoin could pull back and then rally one more time. So you might want to watch out for that if that happens with all the altcoins, because if you look left on this blue box right here, you do have a resistance price on the short term right there. So if somebody's trying to, in the medium short term, trying to long right at this spot, they're longing at resistance, which is always dangerous. Right? Longing at a support level is safer. In general, like that general advice, buy low, sell high, right? Right here, you'd be kind of buying relatively high and trying to sell higher, which is always a little more dangerous strategy. But this is not financial advice, okay? It's just educational. So I'm just saying potential scenarios that could, if this turns to upside down head and shoulders, it needs to pull back once. But it's crypto, so anything's possible. The next couple hours, next session, something bullish happens, because we have to think about Asia, and then Europe has to react to the FOMC Federal Reserve tapering news, which includes a little bit of crypto, right? So the next 2 or 3 sessions is going to be very interesting in terms of price action, just from the fundamental news reaction, what some of these hedge funds, institution algorithms are going to do. So as long as we hold above 220 or 215, right, and we don't kind of pull back too hard on this, the uptrend can remain intact for Bitcoin and Cardano, because it could pull back and find the support right here and then continue up for a couple of days, or I mean for a couple of sessions. So I would just, if you're looking at, you might be an intraday trader, so I would just watch for that right now, especially Bitcoin. Everything's correlated with Bitcoin highly right now. Very, very close. Okay, do we have any more requests? I might switch over to stocks a little bit. Okay, so let's just switch over to stocks. We're about halfway now. So, okay, we'll do one more and then we'll switch over to stocks. SHIB, it's gonna be interesting. SHIB, USDT. I'm looking at the Binance chart. Let me just double check the other coin, the charts, to make sure I have all the data before we view it. All right, so actually this Poloniex chart has a little bit more data, so that's good. You have actually the support down here. Okay, so the Shiba Inu, is really, really, really cheap coin right now. Kind of the riding that initial Dogecoin meme popularity. But the fact of the matter is, right now it's range bound. It's the price is stuck right now between these two resistance and support levels. That's basically what's happening here with Shiba Inu. So your resistance, okay, I'm just gonna say the number. Okay, it's so small is 907, right? At this yellow, and then this 553 down here, and the middle point is 734. So there's multiple ways to possibly interpret this chart, right? So we know, okay, volatility is possible because if you look left, during the Dogecoin pump, Shiba Inu also went bonkers, meaning rallied a lot, crazy, and went 2,000% plus percent, almost 2,000%. Okay, so we know that it's possible for this coin to rally. It's done it in the past. But after the crash of Dogecoin, okay, it's actually been range bound in a pretty safe area, okay? It's a huge range, 50%. Did I do that right? Yeah, about 50 to 60%. So the correlations with Bitcoin are pretty strong right now because September 7th, okay, we had the flash crash. This thing bounced up because it's so cheap and then went to the top of resistance and then people sold it. So we have to really remember resistance test 5 times, support test 4 times. And it's pulling back to underneath here. But this looks just like the Bitcoin chart, right? You had that secondary, you had this, right? Rallied up, pulled back down. And it's in a very, very, very short-term daily downtrend the past like almost week. So if Shiba Inu is going to make big moves, it has to do, there's only 2 levels. It's the 914 and the 550 level. It has to break above that and rally or fall below it and break down. Okay, because when it's range bound, that's the very definition of textbook range bound. You're just stuck between 2 price points. So because Shiba Inu is so related to Dogecoin, I would actually kind of watch Dogecoin as well and watch Bitcoin as well. Those are all in the same kind of family. If somebody's really, really sensitive to charts, they would say like, if somebody's a bull, they say, "Whoa, what if this is upside down head and shoulders?" Okay, that's food for thought. All right, if that's true, someday, if crypto rebounds and we don't crash anymore, you can go 50 to 100% on this coin, right? So this is what everybody likes about crypto. You can get into coins like this, but it has to break bullish and hold above the 900 level because every time we touch the 900 level 5 times in a row, you get rejected down from it. So it's a strong resistance, right? But the inverse is also true. You can measure this channel and your immediate target is plus or minus 50% from a resistance or support breakdown. So the bearish case is if we break down from this and we hold below it, Bitcoin crashes, Doge crashes, this will crash too, pull back down to 271. A more interesting spot where I think a lot of investors will probably, if this ever happens, if Shiba Inu ever gets down to here again, to like 100 zone, people are probably going to buy that. Just because the next level support down from here is 400, 200, 100, like that. And then the resistance of above is like 1,000, 1,500. Okay. So it's just range bound. Yeah, but I would not get too hyped on this unless something actually happens, okay? Because Bitcoin has to do something first, or Dogecoin has to do something first together before this thing's gonna go somewhere. Unless something happens only on Shiba Inu coin, news wise. Okay. Let's do some stocks. Because stocks is important what's happening today. Okay. Before I erase everything, we literally called out these supports levels. Okay. And my idea, which is on my profile on my Discord group, is I called out some of these lower support levels. And we knew this resistance. I'm looking at the S&P 500 right now. This resistance here at the upper trend line was going to be a problem. We faded down, tested the support, failed, and broke down on the China Evergrande news. And the scenario that the bullish scenario we're talking about played out because let me switch the chart now. There's this gap, the yellow gap fill of the resistance right here intraday. Okay. And I was saying the bullish scenario is even though we're in the short-term daily downtrend, is we're going to bounce up to make the lower high. And Bitcoin also followed. So Bitcoin a little bit more correlated to the stock market than maybe people realize at this point in time. So we had a bit of a gap fill, okay, but the FOMC tapering news the inflation tapering news was like mixed today, right? So that's why this rally stopped. This would have been a much stronger candle if it closed way into the gap fill. That would be a much stronger candle. But erase this. So let me just keep the gap fill in there. Okay. Then we have a trend line resistance on the top. Right here on the top. Okay, so if we're gonna keep going bullish on the S&P 500, the next target's 4429 up here on this resistance. Because that's the gap fill and the trend line ceiling for now. All right, and then if something bad happens for whatever reason, fundamental or technical, 4345 is our downside target. And then we could just kind of take a peek right here at the intraday price. We did have a head and shoulders, right? So this is another technical reason why if you use the charts and you're really sensitive and you can see it to the charts, you could have actually predicted somewhere near the bottom, negative 2%. Negative 2%. Okay, we'll look at Coinbase. The bottom of that move. The general bottom, not the exact bottom, but close enough to the bottom. And if somebody went long, that they're up like 1.5% from that. So that to me, this is over. That pattern's over. But the longer term trend is it's still downtrend. Okay, I hope people realize that just because CNBC or Bloomberg says like, oh, this is the best green day since such and such, or we're up X days in a row, is the charts are telling me you see it on the charts. This is downtrending on the intraday. Left side was uptrending, inflection point pattern, downtrending, resistance zone, the whole gold yellow box. So what needs to happen is we might pull back a little bit. If it's uptrend, it's going to continue break out of here, retest, and then continue up like that. If not, this could actually reject from the resistance zone, retest the bottom of here, have a little bit of a fight right here, and then try to see what happens from there. Okay, so the levels are support levels 4311, 4345, support 4376, resistance 4414, 4450 generally. Okay, so yeah, just want to watch out for that. We'll just look at the indexes really fast, and then we'll do Coinbase. Coinbase, yes. Because Coinbase exists within the stock market. So we'll just take a quick glance at the entire market for a second. All right, so Dow Jones index. All right, so my idea, and in my Discord group, we called this, okay? This is the lower high right here in the price, okay? Consolidation, and I said, watch this trend line support, and we lost it, okay? Then consolidation here, and then I called the bottom, basically, of this move, the zone where we close right there, 33947 on the chart, and we bounced up from there. So technical analysis works if we like do it, classic style. So still in this daily downtrend, and our resistance is above. There's a small gap here, so our resistance is above 34582, and the high of today 3443, whatever that number is, 34434. So still in that, we had just one bounce, okay, for like 2 days. So if we're really going to bounce up, we need to really, really break through this trend line and bull power and get out of here up, rally up. If not, it's going to reject down, pull back down. Last one before Coinbase, NASDAQ. It's important to look at the NASDAQ because it's slightly different than the Dow Jones, right? But the similar issue was happening. We hit that trend line support, pulled back. We hit the trend line resistance, pulled back to support, tried to bounce, failed, pullback, Evergrande fears on Friday, Monday. Then we hit our resistance. I mean, excuse me, we hit our support level we estimated right here, 364. That's exact close, right? It went a little bit under, but 359 to 364 was our support, and we bounced up from it. So there's the gap here. There's the gap. That's why it's hesitating. It's in the gap right now. So we need some real bull buying and power, fundamental news. And the FOMC meeting might have helped a little bit, but basically what they're doing, the FOMC Federal Reserve, is they're going to start their tapering program over the next 1 year. So, and the inflation target is going to be raised by 2% in the USA. So that combined could cause some problems, right? But at least they're saying they're going to try. He was hinting, basically, my interpretation is they're going to try to taper as within 1 year, but then they have their foot on the gas or the brake as needed, depending on what happens with the pandemic and the economic data. So that's why it was kind of like bullish. Half of it, it's like half bullish, half bearish in that news. So now what I'm curious to see is how will the rest of the world react to it, and are we going to see bull follow through? Meaning that are we going to see bulls say, you know what, we're safe, and do that in the market? Because this will be an interesting buying opportunity if this happens to be a relative bottom in the stock market from a bull perspective. Bear perspective might say, but then the tapering, and so you might lower low, lower high, and reject down. So it's going to be an interesting next couple of days in the market. Okay, Coinbase. That's Coinbase stock. All right, Coinbase. So we had the Coinbase IPO on April 14th. It pulled back down in the downtrend, consolidate, try to rally. So now we have a little bit more data. So the immediate thing I would point out is the support and resistance level. Support at $220 down here. There's a middle resistance 255, resistance 280, the big target 300, 321, 343. When you just have something that looks like this, okay, you can't draw trend lines. So we tried, let me change the colors. Change it to gray. So then this is a particular interesting double top right here, because it rallied, right? So Coinbase downtrend to consolidation. So there is, again, just like Shiba Inu, there's this range bound for a while. And then if it breaks the range bound, it needs to hold. But Coinbase did not hold, right? If this was like in a more bullish environment, this should have held right here and continued up with the crypto market, right? But it found a resistance here at 281. So the measure move though of the range was supposed to be 12% plus or minus. So we basically hit that target, and that's why it double topped up here at 285. The wicks hit it. This one candle right here, right there, that hit it. Hit the target, and people, traders, tepid traders, they're out right there. Swing traders are out. Then so it's right now it's starting to consolidate, and then we broke down. Okay. So it's mixed right now because there's a bearish into a potential bullish pattern forming, right? Because this support was supposed to hold, but the Evergrande fear pushed it down a little bit more out of bounds on the bottom side. It did look a little bit more intraday for this one. So intraday swing trading type of mentality, there is a little bit of momentum building on the inside day of Coinbase. And it's going to depend on the crypto market. But the news that came out today or yesterday was that Robinhood is opening up their crypto wallet. So that's good for Robinhood stock, which rallied nicely today. Has some relation to Coinbase, and even Bitcoin starting to recover. So all those kinds of factors combined would make sense if Coinbase were to rally a little bit more the next couple of days. It would make sense, right? It's not the bottom. I mean, this is like that relative bottom 232, but close enough. So it's downtrend, and it's just like Bitcoin. It's like attempting a rally right now. So on the swing trading time frames, 4 hour, 1 hour, it looks interesting. The question remains is like, is everyone going to hype on this one or not? That's kind of the question. But example, example trades would be like, this is not financial advice, but if you just have some basic targets, right? All right, you could do a 5% or even a 10% target, but if you just do a conservative, you have to do a 10% target. Like 5% might stop here at 5%. So super conservative, right? You do like try to get your 2 to 1, 2.5%, and try to get the 5% up here because there's this resistance. So if this is downtrend, if it's uptrending, right, that might be the target right here. X marks the spot because trend line and uh, channel support. I mean channel resistance right there. It's like 258 could be a target. But if it fails, this could easily reject. If S&P 500 fails tomorrow, next 3 days, Bitcoin kind of stagnates, right? Coinbase might see some shorting to the downside. So you just want to, that's why I have a stop loss below these candles. Okay, that's not financial advice. That is a just an educational example of, because this is a really interesting. It should have rallied back up to 279 because of Evergrande problem. So some people are thinking like, hey, this could be a potential dip buying opportunity if somebody's bullish on the market right now. But again, what the antithesis to that idea is the tapering long term by the Federal Reserve. Okay, so next, XTZ. Oh, and then gold. Uh, let's do gold first because it's kind of more related to stock market, and then with the XTZ. So gold, all right, we hit our support level. All right, so if you look here, we zoom out on XAU USD. It's basically in a longer term descending triangle. We're talking about 1 year, 1.5 years. Zooming in though, right here, we noticed, okay, if this is a head and shoulders, okay, we hit our downside target of 2%. That's our support, 1750. We did rally up to 1777. This makes sense. Some people, in terms of the China Evergrande feared on Monday, Tuesday, right? Maybe we're selling some stocks and transferring into gold, buying gold, right? But now that we have a little bit more of a relaxed outlook today because there's less fear of Evergrande with their defaulting, right? And then we had the Federal Reserve trying to calm people down today with the message, the half bullish, half bearish kind of hawkish message, right? That's why we could see gold pulling back because people are saying, you know what, they don't need to be afraid anymore. But if you look at the day chart, lower low, lower high, right? Is this the lower high set for gold? 1780 is the resistance. So pulling back down to 1752 longer term, or even penetrating down to 1700, could be in the cards for gold if this daily downtrend is to continue and the stock market conditions um, are not extremely volatile. Okay, so XTZ, we'll start to wrap things up here in about 10 minutes or so. If anybody has a request, please type it in the chat. XTZ, okay. This happened basically perfectly for the technical analysis because we drew these two trend lines and all these supports on the way down. So the first support was $6. We lost that. This is daily downtrend for Tezos. Then where's the next spot? 516, 442. And we drew the trend line, which turned out to be a wonderful support. And we have this reversal bullish engulfing pattern, 19%. So it's kind of right now, again, if somebody's trying to long right now, it's obviously 19% higher than where it was just 1 day ago. So just something to watch out for, right? Because it's attempting to bounce. So now our resistance is $6. So let me erase some of these so people are not confused. Right, so our resistance target at the top, $6. Okay, support 440. If we zoom in a little bit to say a 1 hour chart, we were downtrending. Okay, is this the potential upside down head and shoulders? Maybe. Kind of dirty. But if that's true, 8%, we just hit the first target. If it's going to continue, the second target would be 642, but you have to break through $6. There's $6 resistance here first. So 6 really is that resistance point. The support level is 450, 480, and $5 to the on the downside of that. So even watching Bitcoin right now, I'm still looking at it right now because we have about 2.5 hours until the Asia session open, about 2 hours, 1 or 2 hours. So if Bitcoin continues its rally, then I'm expecting altcoins to rally with it. I don't see why not. The correlation. It's just at some point the lower high on Bitcoin, you can't see what I'm doing, but at some point the lower high, right? This thing is going to stop at some point. Altcoins might continue to go up a little higher, but for Bitcoin it might stop. And what I'm going to be watching out for is, are we going to get another leg down or not? Because if it keeps continuing down like that for Bitcoin altcoins, then it's confirmed downtrend still. What has to happen is rally up, pull back down, hold that, then continue rallying for a true bull move, trend change with bull volume as well. So these immediate, if a lot of people here are day traders, so I'll just watch out for these levels. Is that if Tezos pulls back, you're probably pulling back to 522. If it's going to break out, it has to break through 565 first. So the immediate two levels are like that. And watching this trend line right here. Great. Hopefully that helps everybody who's watching. What else did we miss here? Oh, we can look at Hood. I was Robinhood, because Robinhood basically. Um, Let me erase all this stuff. Robinhood right now had some bullish news and events. Okay, so Robinhood is a relatively newer stock exchange and stock trading app on phones. And so it had an IPO on July 29. A lot of hype. I remember trading this, and it faded down just because it oversold, and then their earnings were bad. But it did fall down to a relative support level at 39.34, and then we're right in heading into the gap resistance above the gap zone right here. So really interesting. But the news, fundamental news, why? There's two reasons why, at least. Because Robinhood introduced their crypto wallet basically for Robinhood users. That's bullish. And Bitcoin's like rebounding, bouncing up. So that's also why we're bouncing up as well. But if we're going to have a true trend change on Robinhood, right? Because if you see, like on the left side, if you just go straight up, you're going to come straight down. Happens on every low float stock, almost every low float stock. Like it almost never goes straight up and never come down, right? It's up and then down. It's just like throwing something into the sky, into the air. It's going to come down at some point. So if we have a real true trend change, like textbook trend change, this thing should rally and then pull back. And then it needs to hold 4183 and continue to break the resistance and rally back up, probably to like this, because it's Robinhood stock. It's Reddit's. This is the meme stock company, right? Besides GameStop, AMC. So longer term target 50, 55, 60, 65, whole numbers, right? It's nice that we broke out of that secret trend line right there. That secret trend line. Okay. So yeah, just being very, very honest with ourselves. Okay, this is downtrend. This is, if it's going to uptrend at some point here, it's going to pull back. Can't just go straight up like that. Although it could, because if enough Reddit people jump on it, okay, it might happen one more time. But I'm saying if it's just normal stock market, it should uptrend as such. So you just kind of want to watch out for that, right? But I was drawing for somebody else example educational trade is, even if somebody bought today, right? The stop loss is, -10 to -15 to -20%, right? So even if you just stop loss below this candle here, it's -10% with a at least 2-to-1 target, so 56, and give somebody like a 3 month or 6 month, uh, 3 or 6 month time horizon for that, right? So this is kind of that interesting IPO chart where it goes up and comes down, finds a support level, and then you have some news for the pop. So what needs to happen now is because around the left side you saw a lot of volume. We need people to really come and buy this stock if it's going to go up or not. You need to. I'm not saying buy it, but I'm saying like on the charts, you need to see some real evidence of a real trend change and volume for this thing to really get hyped up on news, right? Also, some other fund managers bought this the other day on Monday, so that's also a reason why everything's kind of happening all at the same time. And there's a bullish reversal pattern right here on the 4 hour, 1 hour. So this is what I'm saying. Kind of like Coinbase is the chart. Coinbase chart looks like it might be at this spot if you're just looking at indicators only. So that's what I was saying on Coinbase. Like, yeah, I could see because it just happened on Robinhood. You had a little pump. The problem with Coinbase though is that they had a little bit of problems with the SEC with their whole lending program, and then Coinbase canceled that. So that's kind of bearish. But Coinbase is very correlated with Bitcoin. So I wouldn't be surprised if like Coinbase, Robinhood, Bitcoin all rallied for like 3 days. I wouldn't be surprised if that actually happened. Let's take a quick look at Snapchat. Okay, have to rewind here. Remember the Snap IPO? Yep. So we're on a monthly chart right here, and just using simple support and resistance. This is a good educational example. Is the IPO price started here, so we can mark that. Then we had a monthly downtrend into the monthly uptrend. Also, this was a bullish reversal pattern, okay? But even if you didn't know that, is just playing support and resistance levels. You see these three levels here. Then once you have the break of the resistance, sometimes you have breakout trades. You break out about 25, 26, boom, off to the races in terms of rallying. Okay, so value investors, they're buying right here. They're buying right in this zone. A swing trader might have gotten in right here on the hammer, right there, because they knew, okay, this is time. Time to make that pattern, right? Breakout aggressive trader would buy right here or right here somewhere. And keep in mind, all of these have stop losses, right? So this is just educational. If you have like a stock market type of if someone's an investor, if you have a very long term time horizon, right? Okay, if you buy here, okay, maybe we got stopped out that month. But if you buy the breakout in this particular situation, lucked out on the breakout, didn't fail, and this trader's up 120%, right? So yeah, it's just an example of always needing a stop loss. Okay, but if we zoom in to what the request is, we just had earnings on July 22. Snap at a basic all-time highs. So it's at its relative resistance zone right here. And this is what this person's talking about. You have this window support down here. But again, because Snap is one of those companies at all-time highs, right? Probably have to use this draw upper trend line here to get some kind of general target, or you can use Fibonacci. We'll try both on the charts. Okay, so again, if somebody's trying to be a swing trader, their earnings play right here was the safer area to even think about going long. Actually, like here, May, right? You can kind of see it. Once you draw a trend line and it exists, then you find the support points to go long. And then resistance. So it is near resistance. So if it's going to break out, it needs to go through 85 first. I know you're saying breakout here, which is true, 78, 79, but it then needs to break out through 80 and 85 here. And but it's still in the longer term uptrend. So that's good for Snapchat. Very nice for Snapchat. I wouldn't be surprised if it broke out and continued higher. Okay, but at the same time, though, the Fed tapering was just announced. So for me, as a stock trader investor, I'm trying to see, okay, how's the rest of the world going to kind of react to the news that just happened, because we had the meeting at the end of the close and there's still volatility. So tomorrow, 9:30 a.m., stock market open in New York, what's going to happen for the next 2 days? Very interesting. Because the real unspoken question and concept right now is, once the Federal Reserve starts in the USA starts tapering, meaning They pulled back on the money support for the stock market and the economy and bonds. Everyone is wondering, can the market and economy stand on its own two legs in the current pandemic situation? Or will we crash? That is the big question. But the Federal Reserve President, Jerome Powell, was basically saying he has control on the gas pedal or the brake pedal in terms of the tapering, but they have a schedule to do it within 1 year. So the next 1 year of stock trading is going to be very, very interesting because they just confirmed it. It's been rumored for 3 months, but they just verbally confirms it today. So it's kind of a big deal in stock market world. All right, but in terms of Snap, before that happens, right, they should start tapering in November. So that's why I think traders are like, oh, we have 1 month left, 1 month to do something here, um, and before tapering actually like materializes and starts. So I wouldn't be surprised if Snap breaks out at 85, 90. Big upside targets would be like 90, 100, 80. If it fails for some reason, like if it doesn't break through the resistance, then 70, 65, 60 could be kind of those lower downside targets. Because if you see here, the bottom trend line support 67, 66 could be a just in case downside target if there's earnings as well. So just getting those two levels in our mind. Um, yes, and then we already did Solana, so um, maybe we'll do one more and then we'll wrap it up. Let me see which one I want to do. Well, here's the thing. Let's take a quick look because I know I live in the USA, so I focus a lot on USA crypto and USA stocks. Let's take a quick glance though at what's happening around the world. Okay, just I'm not going to analyze the chart; we'll just visually look at it. So we're going to start off with America first. S&P 500. Okay, so we went up resistance and we pulled back down, and now we're testing this spot. Okay, what about China itself though? Right, you go to Shanghai Composite. So China actually they were pulling back for half of last year, then they rallied back up, and strange that the Bitcoin crash didn't really affect their stock market, but the Evergrande definitely did. Evergrande pull back down, but because the Chinese government said they're basically going to restructure Evergrande, so meaning they're going to do something with them. Okay, then we bounce bull for a day, and this market's about to open in a couple hours. Okay, but what happened in like Hong Kong, right? HSI, Hong Kong having trouble. Their stock market's definitely downtrending, right? So just something to note. What about another large exchange, Japan, Nikkei 225, right? It was downtrending for like for almost all of this year, and then finally it popped up, right? It's very interesting to see on the charts. Then we pull back. Um, what about like Australia, right? Some of these are just different. It's not the 100% index, but proxy index. So Australia 200 versus the Aussie dollar was rallying for 2021, and then we pulled back and we found that support. So kind of you can see right here, right? Uptrend going into downtrend. And there's the topside resistance here for the ASX, right? If we look at FTSE, if we look at London, these are just proxy examples, right? Well, I've been trying this one for a while, right? So it's been in an uptrend here. Then you had some potential issues topping out, loss of support, and then just piercing back into that support level is actually good. That's actually good. Because if it's going to continue the bull trend, it's kind of hard to see, but it needs to pierce through, test back. Is this for real? And then continue up long term to try to hit that in a bull case. If we still have a problem though, and we're going to go bear, there's that resistance right here on the top side. Okay. Even look at like DAX, DAX, the Germany index, right? Also uptrend just like everybody else, but then finding a resistance here, and this is mostly likely due to the pandemic. mutations, variants, finding that support level down here, very obvious support level right here on the charts, and bouncing back. So long term, I wouldn't be surprised, like for instance on DAX, it just rallied up to test the resistance here and just starting to consolidate like this. Like nobody knows the real outcome right now. So that's something to watch out for. We got this very, very intermediate trend line right there, though in the middle. Okay. One thing to note though is in India, I mean, it was just pure bull. That's what was making the news, right? If you watch Bloomberg and stuff, every time it's the Asia session TV, it's always, India's in this massive bull run, which is so true. It was very interesting, right? So it's kind of interesting to get a global feel of what's going on in some other of these other markets. And we do have global traders who watch this stream too. So I'm trying to do some of the indexes here. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. This was a breakout setup, okay, and now it's over. So now we have a resistance point we could try to set up here. The risk for the SENSEX is that if we pull back, it's gonna pull back pretty significantly down here to 56,586 right here. It could become a problem. Um, there. All right, so yeah, we just did some global indexes, US and crypto. I hope everyone here, um, either learn something or we covered something that was of use, of help. And I try to focus on longer term charts now moving forward because I'm trying not to have people FOMO or FUD or have any like reactions, knee jerk reactions to the charts that I'm doing and trying to chase something or if they miss something. So I'm trying to do a little bit more long term. And thanks so much for watching and joining. I am live streaming right now on TradingView, YouTube, and Twitch. So if you want to go ahead and follow me on any of those, it's always appreciated. And I have a free Discord group where I post some ideas, a weekly general watch list of some ideas. And we have a basic trading room and general chat, although I'm going to try to focus more on long term. So we have that free Discord group. The invite link is in my profile. And I hope everyone has a good day and week. And see you on the next stream. Thank you. Bye bye.